Next, we've got standardization of training for training administrators.
Good morning. I'm John Griffin. I'm going to be the PI on this particular project. Happy December 1st. For most of you, it doesn't mean anything. It's just another day. If you reside in Florida, it's significant. Today is the last day of hurricane season, so we celebrate. Beginning June 1st, we look forward to December 1st. As with any project, there are some fallacies, and my first slide is one of them. Steve Naus is shown here as my sponsor and monitor. That's not going to happen. Steve, as soon as he found out that I had won this particular project, put in retirement papers. So he is retiring in a couple of weeks. So right now, Bob Whitworth has just graciously been thrust into the position. And I appreciate that because talking with him this morning, I think there's going to be a lot of good productive things coming out of the relationship here. As far as the rest of the team, my co-PI is Dr. Bill Coyne. Bill and I go back a long ways together, probably 35 years or so. And he is also a retired air traffic controller, and he teaches en route at Embry-Riddle. I teach terminal, and Bill teaches en route. Industry partner, Ned Reese. Nothing needs to be said about Ned and Washington Consulting Group as far as their reputation, as far as their training development, training application, and their involvement with the FAA. They have a very long and successful career, and I look forward to drawing on Ned's expertise and using him as a sounding board as we go through here and look at the process. The goals of the research. The first thing I'd like to do, and have already started the process this morning, we're talking with Bob, is to review existing documentation. What is the determining factors to assigning them? And as with any other government job or any other job when you work in operations, you're normally just thrust in that position. We talked about how long sometimes it takes to actually get formal training for the individuals that take that position because of limited slots for the formal training. So what we're going to look at is what training is actually needed for these individuals. Is it something that can be updated as far as designing a multimedia type thing? We would like to use cutting edge technology and get away from the mortar and brick classroom so much and get into where the student can be more involved in the training. And that comes under the factors of determining how we can best apply and provide this training. We also want to report, of course, the results of the analysis. And then at the end, which there will be an end eventually, it will be for all of us. In the end, we want to submit our recommendations to the FAA. Okay, this is the exact process. This is firmly set in Jell-O so far. So as with any other process, as you encounter things, as you go through it, you have to be flexible and give and take. And it's going to be the same thing with this. Keep that in mind, too, when we get to the goals and the dates. Okay, so first of all, obtain copies of them. And I've already started that process. Review and analyze them. This is going to be one of those things when you have trouble going to sleep at night, you whip out the regulation and start reading. Visit facilities. This is most important because with any operational facility, training is your backbone. You fail in training, you're going to fail on the floor. And you got to have that training delivered to the individuals in an understandable, competent, effective manner. And that's what we're going to be looking at here. Exactly how do they deliver this? What are the styles, the training methods? Does anything need to be redesigned? Do we have different learners now than we had 10, 15 years ago? So we need to look at the styles that we approach it here. And then bring together, compile, and analyze exactly what we've discovered as we go through the research process. And then create a formal report as we near the end. on research analysis and findings, and then submit recommendations to the FAA. Hopefully a recommendation that they'll be willing to accept and apply in future. As far as the scope of the research, who we're going to be involving here, the focus is going to be at the facility level because that's where the work has to be done. So that's where it has to be applied mainly. So we're going to look at, first of all, training managers, work our way down, look at service area administrators. District administrators are also in the scope of this. And then the training specialists, where the rubber actually meets the road. Time frame, again, keep the Jello theory in mind here. Our schedules don't always come off as we plan, but this is what we'd like to do. Beginning in January, and I'm one of the late blooming children that will be asking for a no-cost extension. The research period is going to be for 1 year. First of all, we're using that first quarter or the first period to review all the materials. And having talked with Bob this morning, I know that that's going to be monumental because there's a lot of things out there. Every level you look at, you've got the formal course, you've got other things being developed. All of them need to be read and looked at. I need to become familiar with all of them, as the whole team does. The middle of the research time, we're going to develop and compile all the research data from what we've seen. That's going to give us hopefully a good, accurate picture that we can go to. And then at the end of August, after looking at this stuff here, we'll be able to determine the most effective and efficient content that we need to include in the training and how we should approach it as far as methodology. As we near the end there, we'll look at how we're going to actually apply any of the adjustments or recommendations that we have, how they would possibly fit into current training programs, or does the whole thing have to be redone? You know, going into any research, your worst enemy is any preconceived notions you could have. So we have to keep an open mind as we go into it in order to really survey and get an honest opinion on what we're seeing. So we have to keep that in mind as we look at the materials. Then finally, in December, as things wrap up, present the team findings formally to the FAA and let them know what our recommendations are. And hopefully they'll be wanting another project on top of this one later on perhaps to develop. So we'll always be open for that. Any questions? I have to say, I have been to many, many conferences in my professional career. This is one of the first conferences I've ever been to that I have seen and felt the energy, the involvement, the interest that I see shared when people are networking here. It's good to see people on a common road with a common goal, and it's just a pleasure. It's exciting to be associated with it because I know that through all these associations here and all these teams, there's going to be a lot of good, exciting things come out of this research. Okay? All right, y'all have a great day, and thank you.